Hi, everyone. So today is the 9th of August, 2024, and we have just gone through the Lion's Gate, the Leo constellation, as we've been chatting about, and the portal into a new way of being. It mimics and matches some other important dates in other calendars like Lammas and another Celtic date that I can't pronounce. And a lot of it is about letting go of old patterns and stepping into new ones. But because there's been so much happening in the field, particularly in Britain, but everywhere, in so many places, the energy of change is so intense right now. And actually, I was saying, and I still feel it, the energy of light, of the divine, of the possibility of a return to a new balance between masculine and feminine, a new balance between humanity and the earth. All of this is necessary, but as that healing energy starts to come in, it does bring old wounds to the surface, and it becomes very hard because when those old wounds come up, it's pain, and that pain gets thrown about by people who are unable to work with their pain in another way. So those of us who are on this work, do this work, can feel incredibly sensitive to all of this. And I really wanted to do a session to help soothe the soul, soothe the body, soothe the brain chemistry, ground us, bring us back into a state of coherence, because that's going to help us and it will help the world around us. Not that that's our job per se, but it will be by the nature of coherence. That's what coherence will bring and does bring. So I thank all of the participants for being on today and all those who are listening in the future. I'd like you to bring a hand to your heart, recognizing the capacity for that self-soothing, that capacity that only comes because of the amazing physical body that you have, a physical body that has electromagnetic energy that moves from every part of you, but especially from the hands. And that when you bring it to your heart, it actually makes a change. It interacts with your heart, and your heart interacts with your hands. It's a feedback loop that is a part of a natural way of meeting the world and being in a body. So gratitude for your amazing body. Gratitude for the organizational field that allowed an amazing body such as ours, such as humans, to come through. Gratitude for the earth that helps, that doesn't help, that sustains that body. Gratitude for the sun that sustains the earth, that sustains the body and sustains the body. It is so easy for us to see ourselves in isolation, but just a simple exercise of recognizing everything that goes into just putting your hand on your heart and soothing yourself, the truth that that is holding for you already, the truth of that structure that is always there for you and is universal, is divine. And I don't know if you guys could feel that, but as soon as I said that universal and divine, it allowed us to connect outside of the structures of humanity that are weakening at the joins that were never joins that were meant to happen, joins that kept us in a feedback loop of not living to the natural laws, natural cycles, not living in connection with the earth, not living in connection with the divine. So marvel at the experience of bringing your hand to your heart and everything that is there to support you when you do that. Fully, completely connecting to the universe and all that there is, connecting to the divine, all that is undefinable and all that there is. And spreading this energy through the heart, which for our physical reality is our body's coherence generator. And a part of this coherence will automatically have an installation, an activation, indeed, of boundaries. It's like an orchestra playing a song, and all of that sound comes so beautifully. And when they're playing together, there's the energy is kind of inviolable, like it doesn't get violated. It doesn't, somebody plays off key, but it doesn't penetrate in the same sort of way. It can't get in to poison the whole situation. We're looking for that. We're allowing a boundary to be set. And as all of us being empaths to one degree or another, we're a little bit used to absorbing things, transmuting them, and then sending it out in a new way. But it's wanting us to hold this coherence in a way that's more of a mirror, that allows others to see and to feel the possibility, to know, oh my gosh, even if they're not thinking it, it's like an unconscious thing. Like, that energy is possible. I can do that too. So we're holding a mirror of it. We're no longer swallowing it and then transmuting it and then, pushing out the transmuted, alchemized version. We can do that if we choose, but we can also hold really strong boundaries that provide that mirror function. And one of the things that's coming in here is the truth that each and every one of us is a sovereign being. We choose what we grapple with and transmute. And we also choose what we don't. So the sovereign being allows us to make that decision. And it can be, again, an unconscious decision, but it's still a decision. It is still down to whether or not that makes sense and works for us, whether we choose to do that or not. And so what we need to bring in now is the truth of being a divine child of the Divine Mother. What's been holding us back from feeling that as well as we might is, and this is alluded to in some ways by our chat before we started, the inability of our human mother to hold the truth of our divinity. And the fact is that our mothers are also divine children, that it is in our humanness that we are able and we do make mistakes. But that doesn't change us from being divine. And always it is our prerogative to recognize that what wasn't provided in terms of recognizing our divinity and our belonging on an emotional level from our mothers, and our ability to have choices, which is received from our mothers, that all of that we can play in that playground. We can also say, that was real and true and happened to the human version of me. But I am also recognizing that on a greater level, I will not hold this shame, because that shame is not a truth, because I am actually divine, just as my mother was divine. That we each are divine child of the divine mother. And so we reach behind that lack of divinity, recognize all of that for what it is, but also say to ourselves, that is not going to be the fertilizer that I grow from. And that's not a betrayal of our mothers. It is a function of us being the first free in the family line to make a new choice. So again, we're aligning to this truth, sovereign and the first free. As a part of this, we need to also recognize that we're not in this alone. And that needs to be very specific to your own cosmology, your own beliefs about the world. But what wants to come in is that we have a team. We have a team. Our parents have a teams. The rioters that we have been hearing about have teams. The structures of humanity have teams. And the truth of that allows us to be in the part of the puzzle that we're meant to be in. We're not trying to spread ourselves too thin. We are just holding the energetic, the coherence and the clarity of our energetic in this physical body. And with that, we are doing what we are required to do. End of story. We're calling upon guides, angels, star beings, ascended masters. If that makes sense to you and feels real, calling upon the forces of nature that are unexplained and unexplored, perhaps, to help support you. There's so many ways that you can call this in. But the truth is that you do have a team. And that team is there to support you. So that's coming in also as a support for your support, a support for releasing the anxiety of today, for meeting other people who are feeling the trauma that hasn't been cleared in their lifetime, or perhaps 20 lifetimes or 20 generations, that actually 30 generations is what I'm being told. So this is a lot of pain and suffering that hasn't been cleared. And for us to see that exploding from people, and like lava from a volcano, it is a lot. But allowing ourselves to have the coherence that says that that doesn't mean that that's the only truth. And asking our guides to help us navigate through that, to thread the needle through that chaos without reawakening anything within ourselves, without um, lying down and just accepting it like a doormat, without thinking we have to swallow all of it to try and transmute it. We're going deeper into the physiology of the human right now, how it is to be a human, and how we organize ourselves as humans, and how we meet the day, the world, our experiences, how we perceive our world. And we have, what's interesting, I love how science is coming in and bringing us so much now. It hasn't filtered into our doctors so much, but it has filtered into the field, and it just brings such wonders. And we have what's called a brain network. There's many different networks, but one of them is called the Enlightenment Network. And this is where we can be in the flow, where we can be the creative, we can be the mystic and a healer. And what's wanting to be worked on for us as a group here is the creative. So what this tells me is that our times have gotten us to a place where we now are needing to be very creative with what is coming in, very creative with how we meet our world, what we allow ourselves to draw from, what we allow ourselves to expect from others. Our perception and our reflection, is that the right word? Our projection, perception and projection needs to be really creative. And so there's a part of our brain that is that's been kind of turned down, like the volume knob on that has been turned down because it wasn't time and it wasn't safe. But now's the time. So that creative aspect that allows us to be more in that flow state, that enlightenment state. Gosh, it's wanting the whole thing. And when I say the whole thing, it's basically like all the areas of the brain that need to light up in order for us to do it. It's like the whole aspect of those areas of the brain that light up when we're in that creative flow. They're wanting to have an exponential increase in the energy that goes to it, in the what is allowed to be received in how it then connects with other networks in the brain that allow us to do all sorts of other things. So it's been underactive, and now we are turning it up. Oh. And I need to tell you where this kind of is in the brain, and it's a 3D image. So it goes at the surface as well as deep in, but it's kind of the temporal, like it's this area. So it's just kind of behind at the level of and behind the hairline, or where the hairline might have been for those who are listening who have lost some of their hair. Okay, so we're holding that. And go ahead and bring your hands up there. Those hands that I've already explained are pretty magical and can do so much. So what is needed for this to be turned on, for this to be yeah, the volume knob to be turned up so that it's active in a perfect way. What do you need? So this is where we are going again into Chinese medicine. And the Chinese medicine that wants to come through is the what's variously called the conception vessel, Renmai. So Renmai is, and the conception vessel is the kind of yin to the to another yang. It can be very related to the mother. It's our primal yin. This is the energy of gestation in the first 2 years of life. So one of the people we're chatting about earlier before we started recording, a sense of, the determinative way that psychology often talks about now for things that happened when you were younger. And it's like, and once that happens, like that's sort of game over for that aspect. You'll always be anxious, or you'll always be, in an abandonment energetic, or all sorts of different things. And I very respectfully would disagree with that as a fait accompli. It can be that, but it doesn't have to be. So this primal yin is really the building material for our bodies, for our existence in this body. And it is in a constant state of renewal. This Renmai is a channel that comes from the perineum, just at the kind of most private area of the body, the very lowest part of the torso, and comes into the womb area, or that lower abdomen area for men, comes out at the pubic bone, and then comes up the chest in the midline and ends just on the chin cleft here. This channel feeds all the other channels, just like all of the other extraordinary vessels do. So as we declare that we are ready and we are able and we are in a good state, an appropriate state to start receiving that divinity, that truth of us being a divine child of the divine mother, and the truth of how, when that mixes with the mother of the planet, like of Gaia, of Mother Earth, that we are opening ourselves to abundance and to solidity in our emotions and our choices. And so what we need to do is allow this channel to open up within us. And the opening point for this is going to be on women on the right-hand side. And I want to show this to you. And it's about 2 fingers below the wrist crease on the inner part on the thumb side. Okay, so basically find your thumb on the inside of your palm, going down the thumb, along the edge of the hand, down onto the wrist, and then past the wrist, go about 2 finger widths below, and you're there. It's on the bone just there, just right at the edge. And this is the point I would love for you guys to just hold with your amazing magical fingers, energetically alive fingers. And we're asking the primal yin for the whole of our body to be reset. Because the opening of this meridian will feed every single one of the working meridians for the body. I'm also getting that it is, for those of us who are female, it is informing the womb and the external genitalia. Okay. So gathering again, keeping your hand on that lung 7 point, which is 2 fingers below the wrist crease on the inside of your right arm on the thumb side. Breathing into the truth that you are a divine child of the Divine Mother. Breathing into the truth that you are a human being being supported by the earth. The truth that there are structures and organizations within the universe and within the divine that are beyond our comprehension. And yet it is a part of your connection. And within that connection, there is support. Allowing that truth to be breathed in. And with every breath in, dislodging the areas that are connected to lack, that are connected to fear of not being good enough, connected to the generations of being told that divine connection is something to be earned, not just received. Or divine connection was not possible because of your gender or your caste or your race or whatever wanted to come through. So allowing that truth of divinity to come in, be met with the energy of that primal yin, the force of matter within you, allowing the vibration to change into one of receiving resource with every breath. And that resource moving through your whole body, every single cell, every single atomic particle, every single energetic blueprint for what it means to be you. And looping back around to the truth that we are each human. And we are in this body at this moment, allowing ourselves to receive this at that very human level. The human level, which is the time for exploring, for understanding what it feels like to feel that separation from source and find a way back to it, for understanding how divinity could be subtracted, and then what it is to bring it back, activating this into your big, beautiful brain. Every single brain cell, every single brain network, and especially into this enlightenment network, for you are a creator. And with this, every single meridian, that again goes to every single cell in the whole body, and every breath that you bring in putting that new information into the blood cells and allowing that to move through the whole body. Excuse me, and in turn informing every single cell. This is being met at all layers of what it is to be human. Now we're putting it into the digestive network. What you bring in and or choose to eliminate. It might be very different from moment to moment to ensure that you are still aligning to the truth that you are divine. Bringing it into the processing of food, of information, of energy, bringing it into the elimination, into the transporting of all of this information to every aspect of your physical and energetic body, into your willpower for being alive at this moment, and into your creative center, which is the womb, whether you still have one or not. Or ever had one. And taking a moment. Come back to center. Bringing your hand away from your wrist if you haven't done so already, and bringing your hand back to your heart. Noticing if there's any differences between how your heart felt, your hand felt, your body felt, your world around you felt compared to when we first started. We're doing a little bit more adjustment here. Working with the two battery poles. So we're looking now with the lens of us being electrical beings. So the battery pole of the Earth star, and infusing it with this information and this new way of grappling with this idea of being divine. Allowing that to be informed. With that divinity in this new way. There's a phrase we use in constellation, I am no longer that. And I would say, I'm no longer that, Roberta. I am Roberta. There's a stepping into a truth of my sovereignness, of my divinity. And again, I haven't said it in this session, but I think I've said it before. This doesn't make us better or worse or anything than anyone else. But just because somebody hasn't been able to get to that place for whatever reason, doesn't mean that we should stop ourselves. It is not a betrayal for us to hold the energy of that, even when it makes others uncomfortable. And you're allowed to choose your safety in this physical life, and to choose your family, and choose this human life that you signed up for. Allowing yourself to keep safe, allowing yourself in that context, of course, and in any context you choose, because you are sovereign, to dim that light just to allow you to walk through situations with ease. But that is, again, your choice. You're not allowing others to make that choice for you. And as a counterbalance to this, we're working with the sun star on the other side of your toroidal field. And again, it's like we're just opening doors that had been closed, keeping a open door policy for guides, for compassionate and loving ancestors, the ascended masters. Again, always at your sovereign request. You can never be influenced or put upon unless you ask to have that influence brought in. And you can always ask for that influence to leave. So we're resetting the Earth Star and the Sun Star with this information of your divinity and sovereignty. We are activating again. And there's no need for you to do anything but just receive, just breathe. Notice that you are allowed to choose what you alchemize and choose what you say, I notice you and I see you, and I will hold an energy that shows you another way, but I'm not transmuting this for you. You can also choose to transmute it as you wish, activating that sovereignty and that divinity in. Recognizing that in all of this, as I've said before, we may trigger other people, and that there are places of where they meet the world that may hold things like personality disorders. Letting that sit with them, their discomfort, because you're holding a different vibration of coherence and clarity, is not your responsibility. You have already moved through pain and suffering. You have already done that work. And it's not that you're wishing that upon them, but it is not your responsibility to clear that for them. The doors of our house, the doors of our places of work, the windows, even the solid bricks that hold us differently than the world around us. All of our places of respite and our homes and our work are allowed to also be sovereign. So seeing all of your spaces, your bedrooms, your bed, all of that being infused with the energy of the sacred, that they are protected, that people's nonsense does not have to be held there by you, does not have to be transmuted, transformed by you. When they walk through that door, they are leaving those things behind, and it is their choice whether they pick it back up or not. And it is theirs. It will not land on you when you walk through it. So calling in whatever forces are needed at that place of energetic clarity and boundaries and protection. For me personally, I'm seeing the archetype, perhaps the reality, who knows, of the unicorn. It's a very protective creature. You might see others, you might not see anything, you might just trust that it's there available for you. Giving thanks and gratitude for how they are helping you to human differently, to bring magic just through you being. And again, activating all of that in. You are no longer that person who came on the call. You are, and say your name out loud if you can. And you are divine. Thank you so, so much for being here. Please let me know how you get on with this. Please be kind to yourself. Take care of yourselves. Drink plenty of water, feet on the ground, dance. Choose joy when you can. Yeah, and reach out if you need me. Big love to you all. Mwah.